Rizal's secret mission, reporter Sayan Rizal. Rizal's secret mission. Rizal wanted to observe the culture, customs, languages, and commerce, industries, government, and laws, not just only of Spain, but also of different European nations. Such observation may be useful in releasing the entire Philippines from the abuses and oppression of the Spanish tyranny. This evidence in his farewell letter delivered to his parents after his departure. The Rizalian secret mission was likewise disclosed by Pasciano in his letter dated May 20, 1982. So there are other reasons why Rizal left the country. Number one is to prevent him marrying Leonora Rivera. Second is to finish his med course. Third is to avoid detection of the Spanish authorities. And fourth, in order to prepare himself in the mighty task of liberating his oppressed people from the Spanish tyrants. So, who knows about the departure of Rizal? We have you. We have Lucia, we have Neneng, Pasiano, Mateo Evangelista, Jose Maria Chengoy, Cecilio, and we have Pedro Paterno.
Good day to all. I will be discussing about the travels of Rizal, his travels to Singapore, and Singapore to Colombo in particular. On May 3, 1882, Rizal was bound to Singapore on a Spanish steamer named Salvadora, which was governed by Captain Donato Leca from Asturias, Spain, and he became friends with Rizal, and Rizal described him as much more refined than his other countrymen and colleagues that he has met. To kill time during his voyage, Rizal played chess against his fellow passengers who have different nationality. He was the only Filipino, and the rest were British, Spaniards, and Indian Negroes. And on May 8, 1882, Rizal passed through Laguna de Bay, which was the largest lake in the Philippines, and saw Mount Tagapo in Talim Island, and he remembered it as Talim Island with the Susong Dalaga. And on the following day, the steamer docked at Singapore, and Rizal spent 2 nights on sightseeing. Rizal boarded a French steamer named Gemna and left Singapore for Europe. The ship was much cleaner, larger vessel, and carried more passengers. There were French, British, Dutch, Spaniards, Malays, Siamese, and Filipinos. The passengers of the ship were dominantly speaking French, and Rizal had a tough time conversing with his fellow passengers. However, driven by the embarrassment, Rizal learned French by conversing with them daily and improved his knowledge of the French language. On May 17, the steamer reached Point Gill, seacoast in southern Ceylon, known as Sri Lanka to this day, and Rizal was unimpressed by it. And on the following day, Gemna continued his voyage to Colombo, the capital of Ceylon, and Rizal was fascinated by it and wrote in his diary that Colombo is more beautiful, smart, and elegant than Singapore, Point Gill, and Manila.
Third reporter, Theodore Agrimano reporting first trip to Suez Canal and Naples and Marseilles. So what is Suez Canal? The Suez Canal is known as the artificial waterway in Egypt and is part of a Silk Road connects Europe with Asia. But it was what divided Africa and Asia, and it was built by Ferdinand de Lesseps. During Rizal's travel, he went to his first trip to Suez Canal coming from Colombo, crossing the Indian Ocean. and during his crossing to the Indian Ocean he saw a barren coast of Africa for the first time. One of Rizal's stop-offs was the city of Aden, which has a hotter environment compared to Rizal's home country, the Philippines. The first thing that Rizal has noticed and amused him was the camels because it was his first time seeing those type of animals during his trip to Suez Canal. After stopping over from the city of Aden, he went back into his ship named Demna. They proceeded their journey going to Suez. It took 5 days for Denma to transverse to the Suez Canal, and Rizal was fascinated to hear multiple racial language during his trip to Suez Canal. On June 11, Rizal reached Naples, and he was pleased to see the Italian city due to its businesses activities, lively people, and panoramic beauty. He was also fascinated by Mount Vesuvius and Castle of St. Telmo. On the night of June 12, the French steamer docked at the harbor of Marseilles, where Rizal disembarked. He visited the famous Château d'If, where Dante's hero of the Count of Monte Cristo was imprisoned. He stayed 2.5 days in Marseilles, enjoying every day of his journey.
Jose Rizal in Barcelona. On the afternoon of May 15, Rizal boarded the train bound for Spain from Marseilles. He came to a halt in the border town of Portbou for examination. In contrast to the friendliness shown by the French immigrants, he saw the Spanish immigration indifference to tourists. Rizal continues his journey after passing through Portbou's passport screening and arrived in Barcelona on June 16, 1882. Rizal had a negative first impression of Barcelona, Catalua's capital and Spain's second largest city. He believed it was unsightly, filthy, and the residents were unwelcoming. Later on, he grew to appreciate the city. He discovered it to be in a libertarian and free environment. People were warm-hearted, welcoming, and brave. Rizal was warmly received by Filipinos in Barcelona. They threw him a party in Plaza del Catalua in exchange for him giving the latest Philippine news and gossip.
Amor Patrio, Manila moves to Madrid. In 1882, Rizal left for Spain to continue his studies and broaden his social and political perspective. He was then 21. He wrote El Amor Patrio for the first bilingual newspaper in the Philippines, showing the sensitivity that only a man pining for his faraway home could feel his first article written on Spain's soil. He sent the article to Basilio Teodoro Moran, publisher of Diaryong Tagalog, the first Manila bilingual newspaper. The purpose of the essay is to urge his compatriots to love their fatherland, the Philippines. The essay under pen name Laong Laan appeared in print in Diaryong Tagalog on August 20, 1882. Published in two texts, originally written by Rizal in Spanish and Tagalog text was translated by M.H. Del Pilar. In El Amor Patrio, Rizal takes a naturally more prosaic approach. Though no less powerful, it has always been said that love is an extremely powerful force behind the most noble activities. Basilio Teodoro Moran was deeply impressed by Amor Patrio and requested for more articles. Rizal wrote a second article entitled Los Viajes, or Travels. His third article, entitled Revista de Madrid, Review of Madrid, written in Madrid on November 29, 1882, was returned because the publication stopped due to lack of funds. Manila moves to Madrid. While sojourning in Barcelona, Rizal received sad news about cholera that was ravaging Manila and the province. Many people die and more dying every day. According to Pasiano's letter, dated September 15, 1882, the Calamba folks prayed to God to stop the epidemic, which even Spanish authorities are impotent to check. Another sad news was the letter of Chigoy talking about the unhappiness of Leonor Rivera and that she was getting thinner because of the absence of her loved one. In one of his letters, dated May 26, 1882, Pasiano advised Jose to finish medical course in Madrid. Evidently, Rizal followed his brother's advice and left Barcelona in the fall of 1882, establishing himself in Madrid, the capital of Spain.
After his medical studies at University of Santo Tomas, Rizal left the Philippines on May 3, 1882 and arrived in Madrid in September 1882. He took courses in medicine at Universidad Central de Madrid as well as painting at Real Academia de Bellas Artes de San Fernando in Calle Alcalá. Rizal spent many happy days in Madrid. He attended musical concerts, dances, and operas. He drank coffee with them at the restaurant in Madrid, Antigua Cafe de Levante, and other restaurants. He attended dances for he loved to dance. He didn't even avoid getting drunk and gambling in Madrid. This is the basic knowledge you all know, but who knows what is the hidden purposes for his voyage? To make a name for himself in the realm of journalism, to observe and study European society, or to prepare himself for the task of liberating the Filipinos from Spanish tyranny.
Romance with Consuelo Ortiga y Perez. Consuelo Ortiga y Perez is the daughter of Don Pablo Ortiga y Rey, who is also the Spanish liberal and former mayor of Manila, who became vice president of the Council of the Philippines in the Ministry of Colonies. Uh, this love story is also called the unfortunate love story because when Rizal went to Madrid to study, he met by chance Consuelo. Rizal being away from his fiancée Leonor Rivera and from his homeland, he became attracted to Consuelo's beauty and vivacity. On August 22, 1883, Rizal wrote a poem dedicated to her entitled A la Señorita COYP, expressing his admiration for her. However, before his romance with Consuelo could bloom into serious affair, he backed out. The reasons why Rizal backed out. There are two reasons why Rizal backed out. He is still engaged with Leonor Rivera and is still in love with her. Another reason is his friend and co-worker in the propaganda movement, Eduardo Delete, is in love with Consuelo. He had no wish to break their friendship just because of a girl.
Okay, so now we will be looking at Rizal's first visit to Paris. We now know that Rizal went to Europe to practice medicine, so now we will be looking at the place that he visited during his time in Paris. So it is said that in June 17 to August 20, 1883, it is Rizal's first summer vacation in Paris from Madrid. Staying in Paris really improved Rizal's French greatly. It was Rizal's first experience of a city so large as to be a world in itself. Rizal also experienced culture shock because he found the French people to be extremely polite, unlike the people in Spain. So we can see that the Spaniards in that time have a very high self-esteem compared to the French people. So that is why his reaction was that. So next, it is said that in June 18, 1883, With Felipe Zamora and Cunanan, he visited the Lianac Hospital to observe how Dr. Nikais treated his patients. He was stunned to see the advanced facilities in the accommodation at the said hospital. So we can conclude that during Rizal's time, the hospital in our country was not that advanced compared to Europe because of his letter and because of his observation in this day. So on the next day, June 19th, he again visited Dr. Nikais, who showed the technique of operation. Later, he went to see the Pitren Museum. On the next day, June 20, Rizal visited the Lariboisier Hospital where Felix Pardo de Tabera was an extern. He observed the examination of the different diseases of women. Now we can conclude that in the span of 3 days, Rizal really went to practice medicine. He's not wasting his time in observing to these doctors, and we can conclude that he is very serious and passionate about on what he's doing. So next, many Parisians thought Rizal was Japanese. The price of virtually almost everything in Paris was too high. He commented on his letter to his family that Paris is the costliest capital in Europe. So now we'll be looking at the place that Rizal was particularly fascinated. So we must take note of this. So first, it is beautiful boulevards, Champs-Élysées. Next will be the Opera House. Next is the Place de la Concorde. Next is the Arc of Triumph. Next is the Bois de Boulogne. Next is the Madeleine Church. Next is the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Next is the Column of Vendôme. Next is the Invalids, Tomb of Napoleon the Great. And last will be Versailles. So that concludes my report, and thank you for listening.
Rizal as a Mason. While in Spain, Rizal came in close contact with prominent Spanish liberal and Republican Spaniards, most of them Masons, and these are the included: number 1, Miguel Moraita, statesman, professor, historian, and writer; number 2, Francisco P. E. Margal, journalist, statesman, and former president of the First Spanish Republic; number 3, Manuel Becerra, Minister of Ultramar; number 4, Emilio Junoy, journalist and member of the Spanish Cortes; and number 5, Juan Ruiz Zorrilla, parliamentarian and head of the Republic Progressive Party in Madrid. Rizal was impressed how they openly criticized the government policies and lambasted the friars. This could not be done in the Philippines. On March 1883, Rizal joined a Masonic lodge in Madrid called Acacia. His reason for becoming a Mason is to secure Freemasonry's aid in his fight against the friars in the Philippines. Friars uses the Catholic religion as a shield to grab power, wealth, and to persecute Filipino patriots. On the other hand, Rizal wanted to utilize Freemasonry as a shield to combat them. M. H. Del Pilar, D. Lopez, Jaena, and Mariano Ponce are very active in Masonic affairs. Rizal only played a lukewarm role in Freemasonry. Science, Virtue, and Labor. Rizal's only Masonic writing delivered in 1889 at Lodge Solidaridad, Madrid. After Rizal left for Spain, things went bad to worse in Calamba. Drought and locusts make the harvest of rice and sugarcane extremely tough. The land cultivated by the Rizal family was a Dominican-owned hacienda. The hacienda manager frequently asked Don Francisco for turkey, however, due to a dreadful pest that killed most of the turkeys, Don Francisco had to deny him because he needed the few surviving for breeding purposes. The hacienda manager, enraged for his failure to receive a turkey, leads to increasing rentals of the leased lands by Don Francisco and Pasiano. Due to these hard times, allowances became harsh for Rizal in Madrid, and at times he received nothing at all.
Rizal's salute to Luna and Hidalgo. Rizal's most famous after-dinner speech was delivered on the evening of June 25, 1884, at Restaurant Ingles, Madrid. The occasion was a banquet in honor of the Juan Luna and Felix R. Hidalgo for their victories in the International Art Competition of 1884. The banquet was attended by Filipino students and prominent Spanish guests, government officials, writers, artists, and university professors. Rizal was the principal speaker. A banquet was tendered in honor of these two Filipino artists at the Cafe Ingles on June 25, 1884, with Rizal delivering the keynote speech. So these are the paintings. Luna's winning painting was the Spoliarium, and Hidalgo's was the Christian Virgins exposed to the populace. Luna received a gold medal for winning first place for his painting Spoliarium, while Hidalgo achieved a silver medal for his entry, Christian Virgins Exposed to the Populace. The speech of Salud Rizal delivered during the occasion came to be called Brindis. So why is it called Brindis? Brindis because it's all about the acknowledgement and thanking them for the pride and glory they gave to the Filipinos. But most of all, he gives praise to those youth's actions that can make a difference and contribute to the glory of the Philippines. He wanted to make the people realize that glory doesn't based to a country alone. In sonorous Spanish, he praised Luna and Hidalgo as the two glories of both Spain and Philippines. He said that genius is universal; it exists everywhere in all races and in all lands. Genius has no country. He wisely stated, "Genius bursts forth everywhere. Genius is like light and air, the patrimony of all, cosmopolitan as space, as life and God." The speech was Rizal's toast to the triumph of Juan Luna and Felix Resurrection Hidalgo, whose artistic achievements transcended geographical frontiers and racial origins, for genius is universal. But in his speech, Rizal fearlessly exclaims the reason why they are gathered, and that is to signify an achievement that had shed light into what has turned out to be a dark society, as the painting itself portrays. So why Rizal salutes Luna and Hidalgo? It is simply because they are a symbol of peace and a bond of love between nations. They are creative geniuses. Luna and Hidalgo are generous hopes, precious examples.
Rizal involved in student demonstrations. On November 20, 21, and 22, 1884, Rizal was a student activist and involved himself in a student demonstrations in Central University in Madrid. Rizal and other Filipino students participated together with Cuban, Mexican, and Peruvian and Spanish students in the tumult. This student demonstration was caused by the address of Dr. Miguel Moraita, Professor of History at the opening ceremony of the academic year November 20, in which he proclaimed the freedom of science and the teacher. Such a liberal view was condemned by the Catholic bishops of Spain, who promptly excommunicated Dr. Moraita and those who applauded his speech. The appointment of the new rector intensified the fury of the student demonstrator. More student demonstration convulsed the city, recounting the tumultuous rioting to his family in a letter dated November 26, 1884.
Spain was the location of Rizal's studies. On June 21, 1884, the Universidad Central de Madrid awarded Rizal the degree of licentiate in medicine. Rizal studied and passed all topics leading to the degree of Doctors of Medicine the next academic year. However, Rizal did not submit the thesis necessary for graduation or pay the costs associated with it. His doctor's diploma was not conferred to him. Jose Rizal's studies in philosophy and letters were likewise completed with honors. On June 19, 1885, his 24th birthday, the Universidad Central de Madrid gave him a licentiate in philosophy and letters with an outstanding rating.